July 3rd, I believe, is the, this is on to the second, so.
This is, last night, Board of Selectmen, the replacement, Chris is being,
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, I forgot.
I forgot the mics.
There you go.
So I'll turn it over to Chris to give us the update,
Sure.
finances and whatever.
Yeah, we can go,
Did you start pumping yet?
yes. Yes, we've already offloaded once. But it seems, yeah, there's a lot of newer, bigger boats in Tripp's Boatyard. And yeah, we were able to get 200 gallons on Monday. So there we go. Off and running. And it's going to be a nice kind of week. I don't know about the weekend, but we'll see what happens on Monday.
Yeah, I know the ramp's been busy.
This summer are gonna be rain.
It's happened before. It's happened before.
Working on that. We
Cool.
can keep put in for that to make his job easier.
I actually volunteered to run the pump-out boat, Chris will say, right in the beginning, before we got involved. Before you know it, he had me sitting in front of the select board.
Yes. Yeah. That will
No
happen.
comment.
That will happen.
Okay.
So this year, we sent out the mailing, and usually, sometimes we try to send it out, early in April. In previous years, we've sent it out earlier than that, but I think in just history's patterns, if you send it out too early, people say, oh, look, my user fee, the weather's junk, and they put it in the basket, they throw it
they
wherever.
forget it,
And it goes lost in space. So this year, I want to say we waited later. It might be in the minutes of last meeting, but I think we were somewhere around April 20th-ish. We sent everything out. So we have had a flood of,
They went out on the 23rd.
23rd, yeah. Yeah. So we have had a flood of registrations coming in. We are behind the 8 ball a little bit on that, and sometimes it's one, sometimes it's two people trying to go through 1,400 of these. So thank you for everybody for being patient. People have called and said, I sent that in 3 weeks ago, what's going on here? And we just say, we're kind of behind the 8 ball a little bit, but we've cycled through. We still have stacks of envelopes to go through. But so far, I've done a few deposits. Right now, we're sitting at just over $31,008 right now.
So that's the waterways?
That's the waterway user fee for the dock and slip in particular.
Are you accepting checks down at the shack?
Yes? Yep.
So it's around 31,000.
It's $31,008. And these are all kind of static numbers because I'm going to do a deposit probably tomorrow because Wednesday is my deposit day.
Okay.
So these numbers are going to bounce. For the private moorings, and at this time last year, just for a snapshot, we are behind, but we have stacks of envelopes that need to be processed still. I talked to Frank Ray over at Spindle Rock. He is going to get us a check from them. We haven't received any checks from Trips, and these are pretty decent checks that really makes this bounce. So right now we're sitting at $31,008, but it's something that is a static number and it's going to increase. The private moorings right now that we've collected is $1,625. That's still a touch behind from last year just because of the late start and just trying to process everything. We have one rental mooring for the town moorings that got put in for $600. And right now, we've collected $1,275 at the state boat ramp.
State ramp.
Yep. Last year, at the same time of the snapshot of these deposits, it was $1,305. So we're behind, but we're still like in the ballpark of that.
Now, I have a question, and everybody gets they want you to do the beach stickers
Yes.
and several other things. Is that something that would make it easier
for the next guy? I mean,
Question?
what it involves?
I don't understand the question.
Okay, the
The-
question is
Put it online.
getting something online to send in,
Oh, in the same manner
yeah, in
as,
the same manner with
Okay.
other
not to
departments.
put beach stickers on him.
Yeah.
No, no, I'm not, no.
Yeah.
It's-
You'd have to, you gotta fill out paperwork, so it'd have to be something you fill out online.
Yeah, I did it today on the beach stick and I couldn't figure out how to
Don't hold your breath. on
scan
getting it.
something. But, you know,
This is where
they
you,
had to get
yeah,
data. Now, we asked the form to fill out the form. Maybe that form would be,
it would
fill it
help.
out online, and then you'd have to have a copy of your your boat registration,
Yes,
okay?
yes, we asked for a copy for,
Okay, so
yeah, for
that would be
downstairs.
similar to what's a beach sticker. But you'd still be able to do it by the old-fashioned way.
Except with a
Because you-
beach sticker, everybody wants it. And with a harbor sticker, they don't want to pay the money. So it's a different, you know,
This, I mean, there is, so with a beach sticker, you go on the internet, you get your form, you fill it out, you submit it, and then, do you have to put a self-addressed stamped envelope for that?
No.
For the beach sticker? No. So maybe
I'm not
that's,
sure.
maybe that's put in the price. Because we, you know, the only difference is when you fill out our form, we mail it to the specific line item on the form that says mailing address. We used to have summer address, winter address, mailing address, and it was just too confusing. So you would have the person's name and specifically their mailing address. So every season, we are sending the forms out to that mailing address for everybody. At which point in time, they then send the filled out form to us with a self-addressed stamped envelope, and we send them the sticker back again. If you were to put it on the internet and somebody would fill out a form on the internet, you still have to go through the sending it back to the person. Are they sending you a self-addressed stamped envelope? Are you including the what is close to $1 nowadays to mail something?
I know that the
So
beach
78
sticker,
cents?
if you get it through the clerk,
Yes.
you have to give a self-addressed stamp,
Oh, yeah. And a copy of your
registration.
registration.
And license.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. We asked for a boat registration specifically for excise tax as to who is the legal owner. In the assessor's office,
Yes.
you know, if you write, oh, Bud and Sandy, oh, okay, who's that? And is that their legal name? So we just want a copy so we have a legal name that the assessor's office asked for. So when they hand in our forms, we have a hard copy piece of paper of a form filled out with emergency numbers and all of this kind of stuff. Ideally with a boat registration as the legal owner of the boat who should be getting the sticker that is then stapled to that form. At what point in time, if something tragic happens to the boat gets stolen, who knows? We can then go into our files and pull out your hard copy of emergency contacts and things like that. I suppose that if you filled out the form on the internet and then it was alphabetized, it could sit in the cloud or wherever it's going to sit.
Yeah, I don't know where it's gonna go.
It could sit in the cloud or wherever it's going to sit, and you could find this form alphabetically.
I think in a maritime setting, it would not be the cloud, it would be the fog.
The fog, call it what you will. So at that point in time, the one thing that I can say is that the form that is filled out on the internet, when you do fillable forms and it's not completed, it kicks it back until all the things are completed. And the handwriting is way better. Because sometimes you're looking at this scribble scrabble and you're saying, what the heck does this say and who is this? And you're trying to then write down the mailing address and this sort of thing. And so it can get, but I think that it's definitely an option. It's not going to happen this year. This year is in motion. We're doing what we've been doing.
We're still going through this report.
And so we're doing what we have been doing. things are in motion, but I think that it is possible to have the fillable form on the internet that people can fill out, to get it so that the form could not be submitted until all of the credentials are filled out. But then at that point in time, if you're going to then have the snail mail forms with the electronic forms, and then you need to merge the two of them, I feel like you need to have one or the other, because when you have both of them, it is just a sorting nightmare. It's already a sorting nightmare with hard copies, never mind having half of it in the cloud and half of it as a hard copy. So at some point in time, whatever system is chosen needs to display confidently that it is better than the other for the case that's built for it.
Yeah.
I mean, more or less, that's what we're looking at. And I've looked into it, and ultimately, sometimes the snail mail is the way to go. For me, in today's world, I'm sure many people would say, Mr. Leonard, you have a hammer and a chisel, and you are writing this in your marble. This is a big waste
I
of
think
everybody's
the issue,
time.
though, is you got
I just
people who don't
asked-
have a computer, you know, don't
I mean,
use
I'm
it.
just trying to make the workload less.
Oh, absolutely.
If it doesn't make the workload less.
Do you care to comment?
I would, Alex, yeah, it's one of my focuses, actually, to take that aspect of the waterways fees and turn it into something we can all do online, just like you pay your boat excise tax, just like you pay everything else.
How do you handle the registration part?
Well, we've got to work that part out.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's doable, it's just, what's it gonna cost to do it, and is it gonna save man-hours?
Yeah, you should ask the people with the beach, to do the beach passes, if they they have a third party, and the first year, I
Yes.
think they had a lot of problems. I think this year.
There's going to be growing pains. There's definitely going to be
but
growing pains.
You just scan in your, in this case, your boat registration, and probably your license, or something that proves you live in Westport. And
Yeah.
that's what you have to do for the beach pass.
And the council on aging will help you.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And there's- yeah, they're-
they go there,
I'll provide it.
and they said, oh, they'll
Well, I
scan
sent-
it for you.
I sent my beach pass stuff, sent it up into the cloud, probably 3 weeks ago. I haven't seen a beach pass.
Yeah,
yet, but
it's not gonna get
So
it.
whatever.
It's right up there with the waterway user stickers. They're flooded. They're flooded. They can only process so many in a day when thousands are coming at them.
I just wanted to pose that question.
Yeah.
You know, it seems that Bill is gonna look.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you a little hint. I went to see the IT guy.
Yeah.
This was last Wednesday. And I poked my head into the treasurer's office, and I said, could you tell me where I could find the IT guy? And they said, he's at his other job. So he might be here Friday. So without an IT guy, you're kind of stuck in the mud.
Yeah, they go through a lot of IT guys too.
Yeah, they got last night there was just an assistant appointed to him, so trying to find out who those characters are and get a few, get some time with them and see what we can do. But until we can do that, we're not going anywhere. But that is a focus of mine. I also believe that a kiosk over at the boat ramp is also ultimately the way to go. If you go to the ramp at Fall River and some of the other ramps, it's just a standalone pedestal, swipe your card, get your little tag, stick it on your dashboard, and you're done. If you want to talk about how many man-hours that would save, well, I mean, I don't know the answer to that, but it's considerable. So I think at some point, we can work both of those aspects, and the online pay for the waterways fees and the moorings, and the payment over at the boat ramp. So, two things that I'm focused on.
That's good.
Yep.
Thank you. All right. Next.
In just keeping with the spring update, we put some Slow-No Wakes out today. The boat, yes, the boat ramp in front of Tripp's gas stock, mouth of the river, Boat Beach. We were going to put one by Crack Rock, but that seems to have been cut off. So we're going to keep filling. We're going to keep filling these. There's probably, we have 2 more areas that we need to look into. Hicksbridge, Lakes Island area, and also for Slow-No Wakes. And we need to redevelop some slow-no wakes in front of Spindle Rock right now. Just because where we've
It's changed, yeah.
because it's changed so much. Where we've put them, they've been cut off or dredged up or whatever. And the sand moves so much that once you throw a brake drum from a big truck over there, it just buries in the sand and you can't get it out. It's gone. So we're going to establish a north and south boundary of Spindle Rock area for the slow-no wakes. And we still have a bunch, but we thought that we would start cycling them in there on the first nice day.
Now, a year and a half ago, we had that thing way up
Yep,
river.
that's going to go back in too.
Is it gonna go back in, or it's a sign or something?
Yep, no, it's going to go back in.
What's that?
Widow's Point.
Widow Point?
Widow's Point for
We
jet
had the
skis.
Oh,
signs
yeah,
that
yeah,
We
yeah.
had
Yeah,
that
there's
whole
a-
hearing.
Yep, it's a blind corner up there.
I'll send you the minutes of all those meetings.
I think I saw him, John. I remember when
Yeah.
Chris was dealing with that, yeah. And John Borden was here, but there was a paper chart on the table and it, yeah. I think
Okay.
I watched that one.
All right. All right.
But other than that, it's business as usual. I mean, we're just in collection mode, just getting ready to set the new director up with the staff and the things that he needs, looking into, because now it's June, the last month of this budget, to see what we need to encumber, the things that we have left in the budget, and the things that would like to be purchased to help, start afresh. And when Mr. Chase is going to be in there, he's going to have a fresh FY26 budget to work with. That we're not going to throw him into the football game in the second half and we drank all the Kool-Aid. That's my analogy of we've drinking all the Kool-Aid and you're doing the second half.
Chris,
Sorry.
I mentioned that last night, by the way, at the select board meeting. I said that Chris has left us pretty well set up fiscally going forward, getting into FY26. I think we're in pretty good shape right there. So I think as much as it's a difficult time of year for a handover like this, I think Chris is making it as smooth as he possibly can.
It's not an ideal situation, but in just, what's happening in everybody's life and whatever, it's never an ideal situation, so. But we're making the best that we can for a smooth transition.
So
Any
much of a
comments?
personnel changeover?
Well, we have, the way that we've been operating is a smaller staff with people that you don't have to watch, which is nice, because you can have a large staff with people that don't really know that much, and sometimes that can be interesting. So it's nice to have some veteran people that are able to come aboard and stay there, but we do have a lot of, I'm trying to think of how many people were reappointed, and I believe it was the director, deputy, and maybe 6 other people. But I did put an ad out for part-time as-needed help, and we have received a lot of information. And I've been working with Mr. Chase. We're just kind of looking at the applications that have come through. I don't want to hire something or somebody that might not fit in this new administration. So Mr. Chase has a stack of people that, and I sent him somebody today and earlier in the week, and one of them is a retired Coast Guard person. Another one's been working on the river and has offshore experience, and those are all really important things. And ultimately, it's the local knowledge of the Westport River. I'll be the first person to say, I am a licensed captain, but I don't feel comfortable bringing your boat to Greece on a blue water excursion. That's something that I know my boundaries. I know discretion is the better part of valor. But when it comes to the Westport River, if you need to get to a certain location at a certain tide or whatever, I am the person to help guide you into that spot. So it really does turn into a Westport River guide in the sense where there's a lot to learn. You're not just pulling onto 195 and heading towards Dunkin' Donuts or McDonald's. There's a lot of stuff and a lot of booby traps that are out there that could really put a department backwards if people are learning how to use a boat and learning the Westport River all at the same time.
So you have applications at this point?
Yes, yep, I've printed out all the applications that have come to the email and given them to Mr. Chase, and phone numbers of people that have called in, with this kind of, departmental, transition.
No, my only concern is that if they're applying here and they're applying other places, you know, we don't want to let someone that's good that
But couldn't you hire
There.
people with his,
work
Well,
together or
we're,
something?
we're working together to
Okay.
try to get, and what I've said to Mr. Chase is that I'm not going to stand in his way in the sense of hiring between now and July.
Okay.
We have another select board meeting we had one last night. There's going to be another one in 2 weeks, and if we want to go ahead and move forward with the hiring of somebody, so be it. Yeah, I think that's a good thing.
Let me tell you exactly where we are right now. Tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock, I'm meeting Jim Perry. Gonna have a little sit-down at the shack and see what he wants to do this season going forward. Thursday evening, I'm meeting with Kevin Carter. I don't know if you know Kevin or not, but I've only had a phone conversation with him, and it went very well. This afternoon, I spoke to Andrew Manchester, who I think, just by the conversation, is somebody we can work with. So he and I are going to meet later in the week to see where we are. Rick Smith just came aboard with Chris at the end. So at this point, Jim Perry, Andrew Manchester, Rick Smith, Kevin Carter, and myself. I don't know about the rest of the situation, but that's where I am right now.
is that sufficient?
Is this for both?
I think it is, Alex. I think if they're all up to speed, if, you know, like Chris said, you can't just cut a new guy loose here. They've got to have some understanding of what's expected of them. But that is not so much farther down the road, but that's like step number 2. So you've got to have a roster first and figure out who on that roster fits the best.
Yeah.
There was, Chris just handed me a resume Sunday, a young lady named Eva, who was a graduate of Bristol Aggies, but she's going to Maine Maritime right now, so obviously she'd be gone in September. But just looking at her work history so far as a young lady, this is someone who I would reach out to as well, but I have not done that yet.
Bill, these guys are both shellfish and marine service, as far as,
Well, it's funny, Kyle, they're gonna have to get plugged in where they can be
Yeah.
plugged
Yeah,
in,
they
right?
gotta-
Because, as you know, it's assistant harbor master / shellfish warden.
right.
As far as I'm concerned, it's both pieces are none.
All right. I mean, they know they could be working either place, right? On patrol or, you know, as needed in the shellfish department.
Let me, I don't mean to take over the floor,
Oh,
John.
go ahead.
Let me tell you what I've done so far, and it kind of fits into the whole narrative of who's gonna be there. My first call after it became apparent that it was gonna be me was to Chief Dunn. Yeah, my second call was to Chief Baldwin. So last Wednesday, we sat down with the 2 of them and their 2 deputies over at the police station. Rick Smith was along as well. He's very much tied in with the whole police department, so he set up the appointment with Chief Dunn. Anyway, the 4 of them showed up. We had a conversation about what we would like to do going forward. My feeling is, and my focus is going to be, that the Harbor Masters Department, or Marine Services, whatever you want to call it, becomes integrated with fire, EMS, and police. So that should EMS need one of our boats dispatched for a call that they just got, it would be a direct call to the shack or to whoever's on duty. We also talked about training with the guys at the fire department. I was introduced to Lieutenant Greg Nunes. He's their training guru over there. And he said, if you wanted to bring some of your guys in at any given time, just give us a call. We'll help you out with the whole training aspect, the first aid, CPR, and the AED stuff. the police are interested. They're actually taking, I don't know how many of them, but a lot of them are taking the mass boating course on the 12th and 13th of June. And I intend to be there as well. Rick Smith and I have been taking the steps to become qualified to teach that class. So what we have to do right now is basically sit in while the EPOs teach the class. So, but long story short, the police department wants to get some level of training to be able to go out on the boat with us. I want to see some badges on the boat. So the chief wants to give out some details for the weekend. I mean, what a great detail for law enforcement to go for a boat ride. So bring your badge along, I'll take you out, and let's just kind of meet and greet the public a little bit. I think that's a great piece of public outreach. So between the fire and integrating with their system and their training, and the police as well, we're going to end up with some of Westport's finest on the boats. I don't know exactly how that schedule is going to work yet, but they'll be out there with us, so we'll have some bodies, in addition to the ones I just mentioned.
But that's in their budget.
That's in his,
Separate budget.
yeah, Alex, I'm getting wise to that question now, like, who's paying for that, me or you?
Well,
Right.
no, I mean, the harbor budget doesn't want to assume,
Well, Chief Dunn said he had some overtime that he could use, so it's.
but I don't think the harbor wants to be taking in
No.
police time.
No, no, I don't think we can afford that.
Not at this time.
On the gas too, so.
Yeah.
But do you all agree with that approach? Because I'm at the point right now where I'm trying to sell this idea to everybody. Because I think that integration into fire, EMS, and police is important. It's part of an evolution, I think, of what the harbor is.
In terms of emergencies and rescues,
Well, if Rick Smith was here, he'd say this is a command and control thing, right? In other words, call comes into their dispatch, they want to be able to send a boat right away based on what they know. So I just think getting tied in with them helps everyone.
right, but for emergencies and rescues and something, it may, I'm just new to this idea, so I'm thinking out loud.
Well, of course, we've got the whole issue on VHF radio and all of that.
What other functions might you include as police functions?
Well, we've agreed to have some drills and some exercises with them so that when it
War
hits.
games.
Yeah, war games, if you will, sure. But rather than wait until it hits the fan, let's just kind of walk through this.
So do a little bit of training with them.
Yes,
We have worked with the police and fire for as long as I've been there and Richie's been there. The key communication is that somebody dials 911 or calls the fire station, and either the police or the fire are alerted. That then goes to my cell phone, and why my cell phone has been on my hip for the past 10 years, because at which point in time I answer the phone, we figure out what the problem is, and at that point in time, whoever is working in the department, I would call whoever would be out on the boat and say, hey, we have something that's happening over here. And it would say, and we would then make a plan to say, I can rendezvous with you, you can pick me up. We've had this happen, like, I'm over at the boat ramp, pick me up at the back eddy dock, and then we're both gonna go out to south of the tip of Gooseberry to look for these divers that have resurfaced a quarter of a mile away from their boat while the sun is setting. Time is definitely of the essence in all of these things. So ultimately, when a 911 call comes through, it then goes to the Director of Marine Services and how I was running it. It would go to my phone, and then at which point in time, I would be able to then call for help, call for access, create some sort of plan. And even when we have a domestic on a boat, or we have something to that effect, we will wait for the officer, the firefighter, the whoever we need, the EMS, and we will then wait and figure out the best location to pick them up and the quickest route to then respond to this whole thing. the best way that I can describe it is that as the Director of Marine Services, and I am the licensed captain for the town for whoever needs it. And if the police need it, I am the licensed captain that, if needed, would take police, multiple police officers, EMS, whatever we need, as the licensed captain for the town to the scene in the fastest manner that we possibly could go. So we're already integrated with the police, the fire. You know, we're going to throw the pumps on the boat. We're going to get the police officers on the boat. But it even goes to somebody from Concom wants to go on the boat, and they want the licensed captain from the town of Westport to then utilize a boat in the Marine Services Department to go take a look at possibly an illegal seawall being built, whatever it might be, that we go out there. The state and the Division of Marine Fisheries also utilizes us as the licensed captain to bring them wherever they want to go on the river to say, hey, there's this mysterious PVC pipe that's coming out of somebody's yard and draining right into the river. Sure, let's go and take a look. We'll go there and we'll, you know, have fun. We'll, you know, go for a boat ride and see what's going on. So having a licensed captain using town equipment to bring whatever official wherever they need to go is something that we've already been doing. And ultimately, in this amalgamation, conglomeration, whatever you want to call us, the rescue boat, which is the 26-foot Pacific boat that's aluminum boat, is ultimately right now the closest thing the town has to an ambulance to bring, or a cruiser to bring law enforcement or EMS people to where they need to go, driven by a licensed captain. Which is good, because not all EMS might not be licensed captains. Not all licensed captains are EMS people. So these are things that we're doing, but it also then, you have to look at the role of that boat. People say, my boat sunk and it flipped over. Get out here with your harbor master boat, de-water my boat, flip it upright, and bring it to the ramp. And this is the question that I have to ask people. If we are using the harbor master rescue boat as such, would you ask the ambulance to come to your flipped over truck, to then break out a chain, give you some bandages, get your truck right on all four, pull it out of the ditch, and then bring it to wherever you need to go? At that point in time, you are then using the ambulance for reasons that could damage this ambulance. And on a said, and I'm just using air quote ambulance or cruiser or whatever, if you are using the rescue boat as that, you are greatly adding a potential of damaging that boat for something that isn't for human life, that isn't for official use, that isn't for getting EMS where they need to go. And so that boat is really something that shouldn't be used other than going out and doing these procedures. And it gets, you're here, you just tow me, just flip me, just de-water me. We don't have insurance that covers salvage. People go out and they get so frustrated. What do you mean you're not going to help me? And it's kind of like, well, you're putting the town's water ambulance in jeopardy, so no. And these are kind of the lines that you have to draw, and that Mr. Chase is going to see too, and we are just only working together with what we have, but we have to have boundaries as to what the rescue boat can do, and we really need to save it, because if we go out and we flip the boat over and somebody gets hurt, you break the lower unit on the rescue boat, then you don't have a rescue boat, and you're getting the call that there's a medical emergency and you could save a life, but instead you were maybe doing things with the boat that you weren't supposed to be doing. These are all kind of areas that need some sort of protocol. And the protocol that I have is, don't mess with the water ambulance. It's there for a reason, and we need to keep it ship-shape for everybody, police, fire,
I never
everything.
thought of domestics on the water. Probably good to hand those off to the police.
The problem is that having police training, it can be a domestic, and the people are, alcohol might be involved, they're going after you. But then as soon as you come as the official, they both look at each other and say, let's get this guy. So now it's not them, it's 2-on-1 at that point in time. And for those scenarios, would it be nice to have
Police,
an officer with you? You better believe it, with a utility belt, with all of the things that you can use, and that you can throw at whatever kind of,
but my question is, with what kind of frequency does the extra manpower that the police department can provide come in useful?
Well, they're a second man on the boat. They're a second man on the boat.
So that we would only, the harbor would only have one guy down there, or?
My plan is to have 2 boats underway as much as possible.
I got you,
With the
okay.
harbor master and with a member of the Westport Police along
I
for
see,
the ride.
okay.
And the problem, I get what Chris is saying, the problem that the fire people said, and they made this very clear to us, if we need to dispatch something, we need to do it now, not make a phone call to you so you can make a phone call to this guy. That is fraught with trouble. If somebody doesn't answer the phone, where do they go then? So their point is, if I can dispatch you directly from Hicksbridge Road and forget all the other phone calls in the middle, we'll figure it out along the way. But we're already cutting time down, we're already cutting response time down.
So you're looking forward to cut some phone calls, as you say, to make it direct.
Well, not so much me, John, but them. That was the
Yeah,
point
so
that
that
they
they
made
do-
very clear to us. We need to be direct to you guys.
Yeah, for safety, yeah.
Yes, well, in response time as well.
Yeah.
So did the police and fire reach out to you, or did you reach out?
I reached out to them, but they were willing participants, let me tell you. They're all over this. So you're gonna see the badge out there, you're gonna see us doing drills with the fire department.
If I may, which is a little off the subject, but Carl and I talked about it the other day, is if you have a bunch of boats, it seems that Saturday and Sunday afternoon, somebody just strolling up and down the channel between the Nubble and the bridge is not a bad idea.
Well, if I have my way, Alex, and I think I will, the big boat will be out by Boat Beach, Spindle Rock. The privateer will be up the East Branch by Great Island.
Gotcha.
As much as we can keep them up there.
That's good.
I think it's difficult for, and I think it's good to integrate the police, the fire, and the harbor master's office as well. When I think back in the past, when the police have tried to do it on their own, the fire department tried to do it on their own, they've had fire boats, they've had jet skis, they've had their own boats. They don't have enough time on the water. They can't. And so it becomes an issue where, to have a licensed captain on board, or somebody can operate a boat, it's gonna make it a lot better because that time's gonna be spent well versus somebody who trying to learn how to run a jet ski and, doesn't know the river and all of those things that can, make the matter worse, and. And I also like the idea too of having just, you see the sheer number of people on the water, on the beaches and everything. Maybe the threat of having a police officer out there who can arrest you on the spot. He doesn't have to, the harbor master, they don't arrest anybody, so, we're okay. But if they know someone might be out on the boat that can, maybe they'll think twice about, getting themselves into a
Well, you know what
dangerous
else?
situation, it's.
You know what else they can do, Colin? We can't. They can bring along their breathalyzer.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I hate to harp on the alcohol part of it, but, it's,
But it's part of the
it's the
narrative.
beginning of a lot of bad things that can happen. I mean, we've all seen it out there, so,
So would you agree that just showing the badge a little bit might give everybody the sense that, hey, somebody's watching? So this boat is behaving badly thing, maybe it can just tone it down slowly. I'm not suggesting we come across like a bunch of
yeah.
tough guys.
Yeah.
Quite the opposite. All I want to do is show the badge, shake some hands, pass out the little safety booklets,
I mean,
It can't hurt, it really can't hurt, like I said,
are there many
It's free.
Yeah, the presence on the
Right,
water of
yeah.
the police would.
Are there
be
many?
a good thing.
BUI incidents?
I don't know those numbers, Alex, to tell you the truth.
Do you have any
They're
idea?
certainly out there.
I mean, enough people drink and drive, they must boat and drive too.
yeah.
More.
More, right?
Well, just have to sit out there on a Saturday afternoon and watch them. I I mean, one of the things I used to like to do is grab one of Carl's moorings right off of Boat Beach as they would leave the beach and come around and head inbound. They would just see Harbor Master in those big red letters and they'd pull it back.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's all it takes, then that's wonderful.
It's
I've done it
present,
myself.
yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, it's, you know, it's a good start anyway, you know, and I think once
Yes.
people know, continuity is important as well too, you know? You know, people, they, you know, they'll adjust to it, but hopefully in a positive way, you know? It's, you're not ruining their day, you're just trying to keep everyone safe out there.
Exactly.
And, I mean, since you started 10 years ago, Chris, it's like, you know, how many more, they've doubled, if not tripled, would you say?
It's a house in Westport with a dock and a boat and the beach and the whole thing has become very popular.
And now that they've
we-
opened up the trailer across, the parking across the street from the state ramp as well too, I've seen that full. I mean, you know, so
Oh, absolutely.
it's just,
And the town has done a good job with the UTVs or the gators.
Yeah.
With the officers going up and down the beaches.
The beach
And,
patrol's
and
working better.
beach, and, yeah, the beach patrol, that's a must.
I mean, it's
Having somebody
police
with a
presence
ramp
is a plus.
With a badge. Probably isn't a bad idea.
No, I mean, you'd love to have the EPOs there all the time, but I think they got a staff of, what, 6, maybe for the whole Bristol
but if-
County, there's not enough of them.
But a lot of this is, once people understand that they're being looked at, they start to behave better.
Well, you know what they did say, Alex? They said, we'll take care of the ticketing stuff. Don't worry about that. So there's a little
that's good.
focus on that.
That's good. All right, I want to move the meeting along into discussion. What's the status of the West Branch? I mean,
The West Branch,
clog?
yeah, there's definitely a clog that's happening there. West River, 1, 2, 3, and 4, I just call it the 4-pack. There's 2 reds, 2 greens of 4 markers as you went through, and it was kind of the gateway, and then you start heading north towards Canoe Rock. That's pretty much all been sealed off. The best plan that I have right now is when you're entering that 4-pack, the greens that are, as you're entering in, would be on your left-hand side, is going to turn into a red. And you're going to keep that on your right-hand side, so it's going to jog you through the Spindle Rock mooring field, so you have something to point at. So there's
What's the
something,
most water you're saying now? Are you getting 3 feet?
hardly. But I know if you are staying outside of those greens and treating them as a red, it might have to get dragged a little bit further south, but that's pretty much going to be the entryway. But a lot of things have changed out there, even since this winter to right now. There's another auxiliary channel that's trying to form in conjunction with,
The water's going to go where it's going to go.
it's going to, yeah. So the best thing that we can do, and that's what we did when the other channel, the federal channel sealed up, is that we want to mark good water. That's the one thing that we have to do, is go out there and mark good water. And that is the best thing that we can do at this time, to at least steer the boating in the right direction and to give them something.
So that 3 feet, is it high tide or low tide?
A low tide.
Low tide.
Oh, it could be even less. If you want to go through where that old channel was at low tide, you're not going through there. You're not going through there. And so we'll see if things are going to change, but this is just something that we need to keep an eye on. But ultimately, we need at least one channel marker that's going to help guide people into the west branch of the river.
and ultimately, the more boats that use it, it will help, what, you know,
Yeah, the guy,
but it's gonna take a lot, because a lot of sand.
yeah, the guys that plow through.
Yeah, yeah. With the big propellers.
Yeah.
It's still clogged. Any more comments on that? Okay, where are we at the,
Town
Dock.
dock feasibility study. I've been working with Jim Hartnett because there's a lot of hoops that you need to jump through to unlock this money for the feasibility study. And so we are working on unlocking that money. And once that money is unlocked, we will then place the ad for combis which is a fair bidding process that then puts out to bid the feasibility study for the town dock. I don't want to put the feasibility study out before we know that the funds are secure, because it's just order of operation, and, you know, we have to put the cart behind the horse, or the horse in front of the cart, whatever you want to say. But that's just what we're doing. So, in working with Jim, once that money is, that we know is unlocked, we have the ad to be put up for combis. It's going to go out there, and we're going to get the, hopefully before the end of the month. Yeah, this is something that I started, and I need to keep working with Jim to get this moving before July hits.
Chris, ultimately, if you, to get to that point, do you have any idea where the ultimate, you know, if you get to the point where you're ready to construct and bids go out, is there money available for that? I mean, you're talking about a fairly sizable project.
This is going to be
money-wise.
This is going to be millions of dollars,
Millions, yeah.
and it's ultimately going to. The best thing that we can do is that we are building a project from the ground up through the good graces of the Seaport Grant Council. How that Seaport Grant Council is going to, how it's going to be this year, next year. Our budget cut's going to happen. We don't really know, but at least we have to try. And when the feasibility study is done, at least we have something that says we have the start of a feasibility study. The next would be some sort of construction plan or something to that effect. And so it's a multi-step process to get the town dock raised up for sea level rise for the next 100 years, and along the way fix anything that needs to be fixed, because it's time for a facelift.
Is
It's
this
been
state
25
or
years.
federal money?
This is state money.
This is state.
Yeah, the State Seaport Grant Council.
It would definitely help, and I know with Seaport Council, I know part of that area, there is the open space is really public access. Is that what would you classify that? I mean, anyone can.
A lot of it has to do with, a lot of the grants are having the public accessing the water or near the water for facilities.
Seaport's very much into, if you could show public access in that area, which I think we could.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, so,
Yep.
you know, so,
Yep.
I know that's pushed through, I mean, we get a lot of money from them, we're doing the head landing over, and I know that's where
Yes.
the Peyton Aaron project came from, across from Dave's trip as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they're really, public access is really, really big, and I think that, you certainly fall under those auspices.
I just don't know if state funding is going to dry up with what's going
Yeah,
on
yeah,
in the
right.
world today. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But we have to try. I mean, we have to try. That's the thing. And as long as we can get a feasibility study, it's the first step in getting a real project off the ground. I mean, it would be great to shoot from the hip, but when you're dealing with state money, they want to see an order of operation that is correct and not going backwards. So that's what we need to do.
Mooring assignment?
Mooring assignment in Area B. I've reached out to FL Trip, and I've also reached out to Spindle Rock to ask the question. And this is very simple. After the dredging has been done, do you have any moorings that are displaced? And at this point in time, I believe that Trips does not have any moorings that are displaced, because they didn't set any moorings in the channel, so that's a really good thing. But, the channel moves, the moorings, the channel moves into the moorings. This is just like the whole thing. And so seeing that I have a representative from FL Tripp and Sons and a representative from somebody that helps with the Spindle Rock moorings here, I did reach out to Frankie Ray over at Spindle Rock, and I said, what's really displaced over there? Because we can just repeat again the order of operation in which Area B is going to be put back together again for this channel that displaced some moorings. And we talked about the pecking order being that we're going to make sure that all commercial entities are sound in reestablishing moorings lost to this channel and dredging and the channel filling in. The next thing is going to be anybody with a private mooring in Area B. A transfer would take precedent over a new mooring. So anybody that has a mooring out there that said, hey, I got a foot of water and I want my boat out here we're gonna take care of them, and then after that, it's going to be anybody that is looking for a new mooring in Area B, which would then have to go in front of the mooring assignment committee. So right now, we're looking at the pecking order that Spindle Rock, in talking with Frank Ray, said that they're looking at 3 displaced large moorings due to the channel. I don't know if you have any insight on that to say.
I mean, they actually got back like 4 or 5 moorings from last year because the sand moved through. Now it's coming up
Yeah.
the West Branch.
Yep.
But they had, I mean, they lost all the moorings right out in front of the dock.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And now it's getting deeper there, but the thing is, you put a mooring in there, and next year it could be, 2 feet of water, you bury the mooring, then you can't reclaim it. So it's just a real dicey area to stop putting moorings in now.
I think just for the sake of progress, some sort of progress, and this is what I said to Frank, and I can say to you, I can say, if there's an area, maybe not putting a new mooring in, but at least marking it, to say, this is what we're looking at. And if you lose a cinder block, whoop-de-doo. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
no,
like,
that's-
but at
right,
least, so we then know the intentions of Spindle Rock and where they would like to go. We could then enter into anybody that has a private mooring that would need to transfer their location because of shoaling. And then they could mark it, and then it would move to anybody that would be on the waiting list that would go in front of the mooring assignment committee. Now, Area B is very big, and I'd like to just give Spindle Rock the area in which they see it, to give Trips Boatyard, if they needed something that was lost, into the area that would work for them. Ultimately, at this point in time, I want to tell these entities, if you could go ahead and mark these locations, and then it can go in front of the Harbor Advisory Committee, the Mooring Assignment Committee, and we can just make sure that there is some sort of forward progression, and that we're not stepping on anybody's toes in the sense of Army Corps of Engineered registered moorings that are out of here. I'm registered for this place. So I'm going to then go ahead and ask Spindle Rock to go ahead and mark this. Anybody that comes calling for a private transfer to go ahead and mark a location. And anybody that may be on this waiting list, because some of the people on the waiting list are in areas that Spindle Rock and Trips might not be interested in. It's somebody that's like, finally, I can move forward because we did put a stop to any sort of moorings and mooring activity for a couple of years now. So I'm just going to say to everybody sitting here that I'm going to say, let's mark some spots. And then we can, next meeting, if anybody comes and we have these spots, then the mooring assignment committee can come take a look. And ultimately, this gentleman over here is going to be involved with this too. So any kind of input that you would like to see with moving forward with Area B.
I get a little sense of it, Chris.
Sure.
Obviously, there's a lot for me to learn in the whole mooring thing. I understand all the displacement. You mentioned that shoaling area by the 4-pack. If, just outbound of where that 4-pack is, are those all Spindle Rock?
Yes, that's the northern end of
So there
their
was some
mooring
deeper
field.
draft sailboats that I would imagine might be getting
Yeah.
displacement.
They're still fairly good. They got about 8 feet now, most of those moorings. If you're staying close to the federal channel, we're pretty good for water. The further north you go, the worse it gets.
Now, I don't know if this is the time to broach the subject or not, but who inspects all these moorings?
Well,
We've got standards for
yeah.
mooring construction. Who goes out and says, this one passes, this one needs?
I do the Spindle Rock ones, or I was doing Spindle Rock. I'm sure Carl does all of them.
We inspect all of our own, and,
Yeah, I contract with you
yeah,
guys to
yeah.
to maintain my.
Some of the
my
private
mooring
moorings
and-
within the area, yeah.
There's a section on the mooring sheet that you have to say who's inspected it in the past year.
Yeah,
And, yeah, I mean, assuming that they tell the truth, they're inspected.
I mean, you can tell by, the few boats, or the boats that you don't see breaking off and going out to the marshes, that I think everybody does a pretty good job in the river, taking care of the moorings and, it's preventative maintenance, really, so,
But is there a standard, like every 3 years, you've got to have it inspected by somebody who is
We usually-
certified?
we have a rotating schedule on them, and it's usually every couple of years, 2 to 3 years. I mean, we've increased the size of our chain, we've increased the size.
There's a
of our
regulation
pennants and so forth.
someplace.
Yeah,
I don't know exactly what it is.
I wanna
It's
say
either
that was 2
two or
years.
3 years.
Yeah, I think it's 2 years, yeah.
So obviously you guys take care of your own stuff
Yeah.
very well. What about up the East Branch?
Well, I mean, we offer the service, it's, lady was in today, I don't know, 3, 4 years, the mooring was, there's nothing to go on, so, we can't, make a we can't find, we're not gonna find that mooring, you wanna spend 4 or 5 hours at $125 an hour looking for a mooring, you set a new one in there, and, so, it's really, catch as catch can, people, say they check their own, but, they don't.
There's no particular regulation that states.
Well, the regulations are
"Thou
there.
shalt."
The regulations are there, whether or not the people want to follow them or not, and contact the people that they have. I mean, a lot of people do, because they.
It's gonna
once-
take a little due diligence on your part to look at the sheet and see if there's a somebody's legitimately signed off on it.
Once they find out what a new mooring costs, they'll learn, I better check that, and, I mean, you gotta buy the mooring, you gotta set it, and, it's expensive,
Yeah.
$1,200-$1,500 now to.
So if I want my mooring inspected, let's say Great Island for the sake of argument, I have to call you, Carl.
Or you would call, there are a couple different guys that do mooring
Yeah.
inspection in the river, so, if it's in our proximity, sure, call us, but, that, up near Eddie, you can check it up there, so it all depends. And then what time of the year too, I mean, people call us like, sorry, but, and a lot of people do wait for that point, this point as well too, because, out of sight, out of mind, so.
Yeah.
But, it's,
So
It's how
it's
it's
just the private moorings that would be the issue.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And I think that sheet has who owns the mooring too on it, right?
Yes.
So,
Yeah,
And so,
yeah. I
if
mean,
it's
you've
not
got
owned by a boatyard, then it's,
a private mooring has got, it's got, you got the specifications, and then you've got every year when I fill out the form for the
Right.
private mooring to
Yeah.
Chris, I'd say FL Trip maintains the mooring,
right.
and I think it's 3 years, they pull it and they check the chain and whatever,
Right.
They, they may not put a new chain, but they'll take a couple of links off. And,
make it safe.
the only part that it wears is, where
Yeah.
it goes through the
Right.
thimble,
Right.
But I mean, at this point in time, the harbor master department does not have a boat that goes out and checks every mooring every year
No.
for,
Oh, no, I would-
yeah, for safety,
I was
yeah.
not suggesting.
It's, no,
I
but
wanna
I mean,
do that.
at some point in time, it may come to that where either the harbor master or a private entity has to sign off on something, for liability and damage control.
Think there's a market for that, Carl? Someone besides you and Eddie, because is there someone that could come in here and say, I'm the mooring inspection guy, you need to call me if you can't get Carl?
I don't think there is anybody doing it now.
I don't
so-
think anybody in this area, and,
Yeah.
No, I mean, people, there are people that will change pennants and change chains and, they make a record of it or not, so how do they know, really? But there's no one that does it in official capacity, no.
Unfortunately, one good hurricane tropical storm will sort that out. We'll see who's
Find out.
really been taking care of the moorings.
Good hurricane will take out a very well-inspected mooring too
Yeah.
as well, so,
well,
You are-
the chafe is,
Chafe, yeah,
the
yeah.
chafe is
Could be
what
another,
happened,
field
back in
a
91,
request for
and Bob and all that
yearly,
stuff.
I tell you, most of our moorings
application.
held, it was
Yeah,
when
hell,
they,
yeah.
it was when the
What
private
year have you
moorings
last
came down,
changed your mooring?
tied up to a boat, and now you got all
maintained
this
it?
weight.
That's a
and-
really good point, Alex.
Hopefully, we don't have to go through that again. I've got a question on the,
Have you
Chris, on the
inspected?
moorings at the harbor and so forth.
Yeah, have you and when?
Would
when?
it behoove us to like not set a lot of extra moorings in this year, private and/or commercial anyway? I mean, things are gonna still move around down there.
I'm all in favor of that.
Are we talking about Area B?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
at least down by the mouth of the river.
Not to grant new ones,
Yep,
but
Yeah.
to prioritize the commercial,
yep.
you know, the lost moorings and the transfers for the guy that needs more water.
Yeah.
I think things are gonna continue to move around for a while down there, so,
Oh,
a lot
absolutely.
of
It's,
sand-
it's gonna be an
Yeah.
ever going, I mean, there's something to be said, I believe it's if the mooring isn't visible by August 1st, then, but this is, Area B is different from the East Branch,
Yeah.
the East Branch.
And
and
it's just, there's
these
been a
are-
lot more movement down there than there has. in the
And it's still changing
past
too,
30
so.
years.
It is. Someone had a question about one of the federal, I think it was number 14. If you had, anyone complain about one of the moorings, one of the markers being, the federal channel markers being out of
Off-station?
place? Yeah.
I haven't, but I'll
Okay.
take a look at.
All right, yeah,
take a look
yeah,
at that,
yeah.
It shows on the electronic chart, one of them is, you know, I don't know if it's physically there, but one of them is in the old channel, the alternate.
Temporary
you know.
channel.
I got it updated.
Don't go that way.
Once a week, and it's like, it's still there.
Some guy called me tonight. Hi, can you accommodate a 70-footer with 7.5-foot draft overnight?
Well,
On a sandbar, we can.
I didn't have a spot for him anyway, but, like, okay, that would be a good test, though, but, no, go to Cutty-Hunk.
Yeah, I
High
did,
water only, huh?
I did have a tow that I brought through the channel, Sunday, was it Sunday night, I think? And still holding this channel, still
Good.
holding
I'm just- It
nicely.
was a comment that was made.
Yeah.
I said I would ask you tonight, but,
I wouldn't recommend that, no.
Yeah.
We have some 9-10 feet, but that's just, you're asking
Yeah.
for trouble.
Oh, yeah.
You're asking for it. For something like that, sure.
So, since this is likely your last get-together with Harbor Advisory, thank you for what you've done, and welcome aboard to you.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Thank you.
is the meeting over? Or
well, I wanted to ask,
I thought you'd interject that right
business?
now.
I just wanted
Are
to
you
say-
go, are you
Is
leaving
there
right
any
now?
other
or-
He wants
business?
to go home.
I don't have any
Any
other,
other
no.
business?
Nope.
I hope we could get a unanimous on that one.
Do we need,
I second.
I'm looking at the calendar. Do we want to meet in July? I know, I'm sure that Bill is going to have some questions.
Why don't we let Bill call the meeting?
I would say probably sooner than later, gentlemen, because
Wanna
for that
meet
very
toward-
reason, I'm
toward-
sure
toward
they'll
the
be.
end of the month, or do you want to meet after you take charge of the department, or?
Well, I think after the 4th of July weekend settles out, I'll either be here or 100 miles away, I don't know. But
So,
why don't we wait till 4th of July is over, then we'll have plenty
so
of.
we'll
plenty of
look at like
questions.
the 15th?
July
Tuesday of
15th.
July,
Okay, good.
July 15th?
Is it Tuesday?
Yeah, that's July 15th, yeah, I got a Tuesday, yeah, it's Tuesday.
Okay.
I gotta look under the column, it's July 15th, and 5:30, is that okay with you?
If you guys say it is, I'm here.
Yeah, all right.
I think 5:30 sucks myself, but hey, okay. Never mind, I can leave early one day, so, right?
Yeah, sure. Okay, all right, thank you, and I just want to say to Chris, almost 10 years of service as, I don't know, 9.5 full-time, and you've taken the department from part-time hodgepodge to a full-time responsibility. You've been on call, saved, I'm sure that life and property has been saved numerous times under his direction. He facilitated some of the major things where we got that new boat, the 26-foot aluminum boat. That wasn't an easy task, and he pushed through, and he worked hard, and all the bids and the processes. And then we had the problem with our wonderful channel, which is Shoaling constantly, and we had to go through the headache. And he oversaw that whole thing, and, I mean, the dedication was superb, and we're gonna miss you, you know, and I hope you'll wanna work a little bit part-time work to stay on.
Anywhere but there.
Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah.
Those shellfish
have
are gonna miss you out there, Chris, you
Oh,
know?
yeah, I mean, you know, all the pictures of you, you know, the shellfish transfers and all that, it's,
Yeah, no, it was a wonderful
It is the
opportunity.
I mean, I know you wanna go on with your life, and I hope you're very successful, okay?
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for the
Happy
opportunity.
All right, Chris.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Motion to go home.
Meeting adjourned,
Meeting adjourned, okay.
All right.
Great.
6:30.